I just thought he was better than this. And after 3 years, if I saw a little sign of progress here and there, I'd say, hey, let the kids continue to grow up, give him a shot next year. I'm sorry, as much as I like him personally, I cannot defend him any longer.
Skip, I thought the first year he didn't get a fair shake because at his introductory press conference, one of Texas' largest boosters, Red McComb, says he'd make a great defensive coordinator.
Yep.
But if you want to win administration, you want to win the student body, you want to win boosters over, you win. And that's all he had to do. If he had one ball game, I'm going to say, the first year, chalk that up. Hey, new system, try to get your guys in there. You're trying to weed out all the bad apples, find out the guys that truly, sincerely want to play football, who truly, sincerely want to be at the University of Texas, and what it means to have that burnt orange on with that the Longhorn on the side of the helmet. I need to find those guys. I need to make sure the guys that were here before I got here truly want to be here. So he weeded out. And like you said, when you come in and you lay the hammer down, it needs to manifest itself in wins. It did not. With that being said, so now we go to the second and third year. Skip, you got to win. There are certain jobs, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame. Those jobs, you can't go 8-4. 9-3 is not good enough for those jobs. You need to be playing, you need to get into the playoffs, or at the bare minimum, play on New Year's. You got to play in one of those big bowls, Skip. Because if you don't, they're going to run you out of town because they've been at the top of the mountaintop for so long. Now, I don't know if Texas in a year or two, even if I believe they're going to go after Tom Herman, the head coach of the University
I would
of Houston.
assume so. Yep.
I thought that at the very beginning.
And you've liked him all year.
I have. Now, maybe because I thought he did an unbelievable job of calling play. Ohio State hasn't looked the same offensively since he left.
I'm with you.
Now, and they kept Cordell Jones and they put Barrett back in there and they had a lot of the same pieces.
Correct.
Only thing but they didn't look the same. So I'm not so sure that if he comes in there, I do think they'll be better. But I don't know if they're going to be able to contend right away for a national championship. But Skip, this is not good enough. You need to play for a New Year's Day or you need to get into the playoffs. And he wasn't even close. And as you mentioned, he got the big win on opening day against Notre Dame. And you're like, okay, this is Charlie's year. And now we look at Notre Dame lost to NC State. You look at now Brian Kelly, both of these guys, you think about it, both of these guys might lose their job.
They might.
Charlie Strong and Notre Dame's head coach, Brian Kelly, excuse me. Skip, this is disappointing. And because if you look at, like you mentioned, his expertise is defense. They are terrible. And if you look at what he had at the University of Florida, 2 national championships, he was dialing it up. And even at Louisville, you're like, okay, but Skip, sometimes the grass isn't always greener. He had a great thing at Louisville. Expectations, you go 8-4, 9-3 at Louisville, you're going to be there for 20 years. You go 8-4, 9-3, you might get 5 years at the University of Texas. Because they got rid of Mac Brown for those very same records.
They did.
After he won a national championship and lost another one when Colt McCoy got injured early in that ball game. They got rid of Mac Brown for 8-4, 9-3. That's unacceptable at this university. And Skip, Kansas didn't cost Charlie Strong this job. This was gone long before. Once he lost to Cal, once he lost those games early, he wasn't coming back. He could have beat Kansas by 40, and Charlie Strong was going to be out of this job come end of the year.
But that did cinch it, obviously. Well, that was it, man.
But see, now you don't really have to. You're like, yeah, we really like Charlie because if you fire him at 8-4, you're like, well, man, look like he was turning this thing around. Now you fire, and plus, even if he's 8-4, he lose to Kansas. You probably still gonna fire him, but you're gonna say you lost to Kansas. You can't lose to Kansas. You can't lose to Kansas in Texas, Austin. You can't lose to him in Lawrence. You can't lose to him in the parking lot. You can't lose to him in L.A. At University of Texas, you can never ever lose to Kansas, and he lost. So, like you said, the final nail, but that wasn't even a nail. That was a tack.
I'll buy that.
Maybe even a stapler. This was a foregone conclusion, Skip. Nobody thought with his record that he was going to be back at the University of Texas next year.